Uh, Yo, what's up? I'm San, and I'm 30 years old, and this is why I shoot film. Yeah, so I'm a photographer and filmmaker here in Phnom Penh. I've lived here for 2.5 years, and I shoot exclusively on film. I think I've been shooting film for around 9 years. So actually, when I first started shooting, there's a sad story related to this. So actually, like I fell in love with film photography like when I first tried it, but I didn't continue doing photography for a long time. It wasn't until I think I was 23 I started again in a very like obsessive way. But it's because when I was 22, it was a very strange year for me, but a bunch of people I know died. My art professor, who was actually the woman that convinced me to be an artist, she passed away that year too. She was like our art mom, and she passed away like literally like right before New Year's, like December 29th or something like that. So then it ended off, that was like how we ended off that year. And my birthday's in January, so at that time I was turning 23 soon. And for my birthday, I guess I thought I would get myself a film camera, and I just started from then, obsessively recording everything. Like literally every single day, I had a camera around my neck, like for the whole day. And I was very, very lucky that at school we had this huge cardboard box of expired black and white film, and they gave it to us for free. So I shot anywhere between 1 to 5 rolls a day, at least for a whole year. So this is how I got my start, and I developed all of that, and I would print. But yeah, it was, I became kind of like a mad scientist in film because I would spend all my days shooting and then all my nights printing, you know. And like some days when I had a lot to print, like I'd be in there from like morning until like 1 or 2 at night. The school actually gave me keys to the darkroom because they knew how long I wanted to stay. So yeah, like literally I would stay until the last train was running and not go home. I just had like this thing inside of me that like made me want to record everything. And because I didn't really like digital photography, I knew for a fact I had to do everything with film. Film photography, something within it captures the essence of the person. And I think this is something essential to photography, and also why I continue this tradition, because I think from the very first day that I picked up a film camera, even before I was taking photos of things that I feel like are meaningful, the world within myself was evident within, I think, even my earliest photos, or like so I've been told. You know, like my early professors and stuff, they really read into the images that I took, even though me, myself, I didn't know much about it. Like, for example, too, there's an image of my aunt. The very last time I saw her was actually her birthday, and she was in the hospital at that time. One night I was out,
And then I realized, oh shit, it was my aunt's birthday. So I rushed to the hospital. And I got there quite late, maybe 9 at night. But they still let me in. It was past visiting hours. They still let me in. And I went to go visit her. And at that point, she couldn't remember my name anymore. I still felt like she knew me because she had dementia, but she was just so, like, she was just about, leaving. So I just, like, played the CD and, like, just sat with her. I was holding her hand for a long time. After maybe about an hour and a half or something had passed, it was getting quite late, and I knew, like, the hospital staff also probably wanted me to leave at some point soon. So, like, I was saying my goodbye. And then as I was putting on my coat, and I had my, there's a little closet there, and I had my camera in there and like my coat. I put my jacket on, and I looked back at her, and she was like lying there with her hands her hands down, and her eyes closed. And I just had this feeling like, take a picture of her, like take a picture right now. And so I pulled out my camera. So I took a picture of her in the hospital bed. And as soon as I put down my camera, I saw her hands slowly come up, and she waved goodbye. And it turned out that was the last time I ever saw her alive. A few months later, this photograph, I had made a silkscreen print of it. And my old professor, she was looking at the photo, and it was printed quite big, and she looked at it and she said, it feels like she's saying goodbye, but in the photo her hands are down. Like there's no way that my professor could have known that after that she waved her hand and like said goodbye. But she looked at the photo and she said, it feels like she's saying goodbye. And then it's like, wow, At that moment, I knew that photographs and art could contain something special, in which maybe it's not so obvious to every person, but that spirit, that thing, the spirit of the moment even, it's like in there, Yeah. The things you really want to do in life, you'll find a way to make it work. Like at some point, like I was very lucky when I first started out because there was a bunch of expired roles that I was allowed to use. But after that, when I left the city, when I was done school, I had next to no money. Like over there, it's very expensive, like in Canada, right? After I paid my rent, I would have between $20 to $50 left every month. That's all I had. With a lot of that money, I bought film because I needed to shoot. But it came out of a certain honesty about my circumstance, in the sense that at that point I was very sad, I was very depressed, and I knew that if I didn't do that, I wouldn't get any better. Because I needed a way to let my emotions out. And this is part of like, not just photography, but any art, So I feel like the need for expression has to be honest. And like, I can't tell you what is honest, what is not honest, but you will feel within yourself if you have to do it or not. I think it's something young artists have to ask themselves too. It's like, why am I doing it? Do I need to do this? Because I think the best work, be it film photos or not, right? Because film photos are just a specific medium, right? Is a specific way to do things. I don't think is meant for everyone. But I think it's a good thing to experiment with to see if it's for you. But yeah, regardless of the medium, I think you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this? And do I really have to do this? Do I really want to do this? I think that's the most important, yourself are the most important thing you can ask yourself. And I feel like from that, everything else will be answered. It's a balance though, because you shouldn't overthink it, because part of knowing is doing. Right? I think that's a very important thing to recognize, that part of knowing is doing. It's not just thinking. This is me being like a very harsh critic now, but like thoughtless art are things done without like any real intention. And I think it's akin to, like, it's similar to, you know, having like a completely frivolous conversation with someone, which is, it has its purposes sometimes. You know, sometimes you don't want to talk about like deep stuff or whatever. Like it does have its purpose, but I feel like it's brought into the extreme in this age. Like most things we talk about are meaningless, you know, or most images we make are like meaningless, or just almost just a copy of someone else's work. You know what I mean? And it's not even about just like trying to make a specific style or anything. Like literally for me, all it was reflecting how I feel about life. Anything I'd done with my photos, I never tried to make it in a certain way. I never tried to make it sad. I never tried to make it lonely. I never tried to make it like this or that style. That all came out of the feeling that I had. And that feeling is what I felt about life. And I was trying to photograph what I felt about life. And that's basically all it was. And then naturally, that emerges like a certain style or a certain feeling or a certain understanding about the world. And you can see it all in the image because it came out of an honest place, right? It's just knowing how I feel, knowing that I want people to see what I see. And that was it. Like part of photography is another language. It's a visual language. It's like understanding how you see. And I think we all get it. We all get it, but some of us throw it away because we look at a certain style and we're like, oh, that's a cool style. I'm going to do that. Or we look at something that's popular, or like we post a certain image, and because it gets a lot of likes, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to do more of that. I completely think this is the wrong way. Actually, for the first 5 years that I shot, I never showed anyone anything because I just wanted to know how I felt about it. And like I wanted my own feelings and voice and ideas to emerge out of looking at my own images. There's a balance to be had too, with patience and with taking your time. And actually, with film photography, it slows you down as well, right? It allows you to totally just like, just look, you know, look without any intention even too, just to look with the purity of looking. Because you don't get that feedback, that instant feedback from your camera, it makes you sit in that moment, you know? You can't escape from that moment and look at the image, because once you look at the image, immediately you're no longer looking at life and you're no longer feeling the feeling of what it is to be in that moment. So it takes you away, and you almost forget what's important about the image. I think some good photographers can still do it. I'm not one of them that can look at a digital image and still be in that moment. I'm not. So this is partially why I'm in film photography. But yeah, it takes you out of that moment and that feeling, which is the most important thing about making an image and an artwork. Because without it, you're just making something superficial. Like literally, it's just the outside, because you're no longer looking at the inside. And this is the big mistake. I truly believe this is the big mistake in image making, is you look at the outside and not the inside. It's like the book, The Little Prince. In the English translation, he says, what is essential is invisible to the eye. I truly believe this. It's the things you cannot see. Paradoxically, the contradiction is the thing that makes a photo important or impactful is actually the thing you can't see, is the thing that you feel. But you have to look to get the feeling. And most people don't look. Godard once said that something along the lines of like, when you jump into the void, you owe no explanation to those who have not. But I like this idea, jumping into the void. I think that's art. Cut.
Cut.
I think they're
Y'all a little loud.
Yo, shut up! This is my time to shine! I wasn't serious.
Oh, I'm so glad I got that dog.